Why I missed this simple shot? Is my cue stick of poor quality? Definitely no. Maybe balls or table? Still no. Actually, there are some very common reasons that we have problems to aim shots correctly. If you will be able to spot and fix these mistakes, then you can become a better pool player. First of all, you are not able to aim at the correct point on the object ball. Many beginners have difficulties to hit the object ball in correct place, and very helpful in this situation will be ghost ball aiming system. Very often players make a big mistake because they are trying to find point of contact on the object ball, and this is nice. But if we hit the cue ball exactly at this point, then we are missing this shot because cue ball hits the object ball too thick. So in this case, if we want to find our aiming point correctly, then in first step we need to imagine virtual cue ball which makes a contact with object ball. And if we look closer, then we can see that if you want to place the cue ball exactly at the same point, then we need to aim at the center point of this ghost ball. And this aiming system will be very helpful for beginners because we can determine our aiming point very quickly and effectively. The second very important thing: stop using low speed on the cue ball. We know how to use ghost ball aiming system and we have determined correct point of contact with object ball, but we are still missing this ball. You need to understand this one very important thing: you can't slow rolling balls. If we look closer on the pros, then we can spot a big difference because they use low speed only when necessary. Actually, they prefer to use more difficult shots and use more speed to produce much higher benefit. Okay, but why low speed is so bad? You need to understand that when we aim shot with some angle and we are able to hit the object ball at the ghost ball point, then we face factor which is called cut-induced throw, especially when we use low speed. During this type of shot, cue ball pushes the object ball slightly to the outside, and in some cases we may miss this ball despite the fact that we are hitting at the ghost ball point. So in this case we need to use more speed on the cue ball to make our stroke more confident. But you can't use too much speed. First of all, if we are hitting the cue ball with high speed and object ball hits rail first, then it can stay on the table and pocket was not able to accept this ball because of phenomenon called pocket speed. Very important is to hit the cue ball softer with smoother stroke, because then balls which are aimed not perfectly at the center of the pocket will be much more acceptable. But sometimes we are forced to use high speed on the cue ball, and in this case we need to change our mindset at what part of pocket to aim. We have to aim at the pocket opening, and it depends on which side of the table we are making the shot. Many beginner pool players aim always at the center of the pocket, but this works only in situation when the object ball is located in front of the pocket. But when the object ball is located far away from the pocket and quite close to the rail, then shot executed at the center point can be not accepted, especially if we apply high speed. The pocket opening should be our target to aim for, and if we look closer how pros aim shots and at what part of the pocket they aim, then we can clearly say that this aspect can make a huge difference in our shot effectiveness. All of these aspects are very important, but they will not work if we forget about another important thing: pre-shot routine. This aspect is absolutely must-know for every pool player, and in most cases can build high confidence and help us determine every important step during each shot. And this is actually the first very important factor from which we should start our all subsequent activities. The pre-shot routine is a set of things you should do always before you step into the shot. And we can look closer at the pro pool players again and what kind of things they do before executing shot. Analyzing the situation on the table, they chalking their cues and they check straight line of the next shot. They always think few shots ahead and prepare each next move as carefully as possible. After these things, they stand behind the object ball to check where is the ghost ball, and then they stand behind the cue ball. And after these two steps, they visualize this shot and make some movements of Q-stick to build confidence. And finally, step into the shot, pre-stroke routine and shot execution. But this is not a characteristic thing only in pool, but in every other sport. Whether it is football or tennis, we can observe that players perform a set of activities that help them prepare for a shot. And you need to remember to do all things before all shots, no matter how difficult they are. You should take much more time in your practice sessions to work on your pre-shot routine, and then I'm sure that you will see very high improvement in your game. Visualization is one of the most important parts of all sports, and in most cases can significantly increase effectiveness of your game. If we are positioned into the shot, then we cannot make any unnecessary movements because they may significantly affect the final result. Changing the position of our legs and body or lifting ourselves while aiming may have a significant negative impact on our concentration and everything we have done before. When we step into the shot, then we should lock our body and do not make any additional movements. If we are not completely sure about the shot, then we should get up and do all steps before taking the shot again. The last important reason that we are missing shots is our stroke technique. If we look closer how pro pool players executing their shots, then we can see one small thing which has big impact. You need to shorten your backswing. For example, if we execute shot like this where we use low speed and cue ball do not cover longer distance, then we shouldn't make too long backswing. As longer our backswing will be, then we may not hit the cue ball at intended point, what in next step will result that we are missing object ball, especially when using low speed. But as I said before, sometimes we need to use longer backswing, and very good example will be long draw shot, where we need to apply a lot of backspin and more speed. And as the conclusion, we can clearly say that the less speed we use, then shorter backswing should be. But not only backswing is important, because motion of our cue stick after hitting the cue ball is equally important too. And let's make for example this shot, and this time we'll use side spin, and if we hit the cue ball with low speed, but we stop our cue right after hitting the cue ball, then stroke is not accurate, and we can see that the cue ball curves and hit object ball in different point, which result with mistake. The solution to this problem is to execute same shot, but this time we need to push our cue forward after hitting the cue ball. And this forward motion is called follow-through, and in most cases it has big impact on our stroke quality. So in this case, if we manage to combine the backswing and follow-through correctly, we will be able to control the cue ball much better. The principle of operation should be that the backswing length should be similar to the follow-through length, but in fact we should adjust it depending on the table's situation. I hope you enjoyed this video and you will be able to leave a thumbs up for me and hit the subscribe button to be updated with videos like this. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next lesson. Take care.